Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar Archaeological Cultural Heritage in the UNESCO Mandate. This event is organized by the Polish National Commission for UNESCO, UNESCO-UNITWIN Network on Culture in Emergencies, and the Adam Mickiewicza University, in collaboration with UNESCO. The event aims to show the need for holistic approach to cultural heritage and the archaeological cultural heritage specificities. We use this opportunity to present several very important contributions with recognized scholars, as well as the ongoing project run together by Poland and UNESCO, UNESCO Poland Fellowships. Ms. Marta Cienkowska, Deputy Minister of Culture and National Heritage, was engaged in this event organization from the very beginning. Unfortunately, she is unable to join us today, but she prepared a recording with a brief welcome address.
Dear participants, it's an honor and great satisfaction for me to be able to open our webinar today devoted to the issue of archaeological cultural heritage in the UNESCO Mandate. I warmly welcome you all, participants of this inspiring event. I would like to thank Polish National Commission for UNESCO for presenting this initiative, organizing our webinar in cooperation with other partners. The Polish Ministry of Culture and National Heritage supports this initiative because it corresponds to our approach to strengthening efforts to protect archaeological heritage. The primary goal of protecting archaeological heritage is to preserve it in its most unaltered state for future generations. It should remain in situ, meaning in the location where it was discovered, and all action, especially those related to UNESCO World Heritage Sites, should align with this principle. Archaeological heritage, it's not only at risk from deliberate destruction, but also from infrastructure development and mass tourism. Climate change poses a significant threat to archaeological heritage. To effectively protect it, we must first understand the scale of the problem, map the risk factors, and develop clear procedures to guide appropriate responses. Effective protection and management of archaeological heritage are impossible without adequate financial resources. We must be aware that funding should support not only research, but also the storage and preservation of documentary and movable artifacts, so that they can continue to serve future generations, both researchers and the public. Therefore, its protection requires collaboration among experts from various fields and the integration of archaeology into development planning. Raising awareness among decision makers and the general public is also crucial to ensure that traces of the past are not erased. The looting of archaeological sites, especially intense during armed conflicts, presents challenge of international cooperation in fast response to cultural heritage threats. International organizations such as UNESCO play a pivotal role in promoting best practices and implementation of existing conventions. We greatly appreciate the UNESCO Poland co-sponsored fellowships program in archaeology and conservation at Adam Mickiewicza University in Poznań, which enable researchers from Global South countries to carry out archaeological research projects in collaboration with Polish research institutions. The latter have rich traditions in conducting archaeological excavation, thus fostering international cooperation and exchange of knowledge in the field of archaeological heritage conservation. These traditions also prompted us to become more involved in the work of the International Committee Nubia campaign, focusing on the establishment of the Nubian Museum in Aswan and the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization in Cairo. It's now official that Poland aims to be considered as a member of the World Heritage Committee. If successful, Poland will act as a responsible and active member of the committee, and with support of our international partners, will be able to fulfill this mission. I wish you a fruitful debate and joint implementation of the activities discussed today, as well as successful new edition of the UNESCO Poland co-sponsored fellowship program in archaeology and conservation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to give the floor to Professor Michał Kleiber, the president of the Polish National Commission for UNESCO, who will deliver the introductory remarks of this session. Professor, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Distinguished participants of our, I believe, important and interesting event. Let me first express our sincere thanks to the co-organizer of the webinar, including the Polish Minister of Culture and National Heritage, represented today by Mrs. Marta Cienkowska, and the authorities of the Adam Mickiewicza University in Poznań for their support in preparing this event. We are proud to have over 100 registrations for the event. We would like to thank UNESCO and the Division of External Relations led by Dove Lynch, colleagues from Cultural and Emergency Entity, as well as World Heritage Center, for disseminating information among interesting partners. With this initiative, we have reached numerous networks active in the field of culture, National Commission of UNESCO, and many experts. I am extremely grateful to Professor Rafał Witkowski, Vice Rector for International Relations, for this support of this initiative in Culture in Emergency UNITWIN, a unique network coordinated by Adam Mickiewicza University and the University of Technology, Sydney. I would like to thank as well the representatives of the archaeology faculty for their strong commitment. Today's meeting provides an opportunity for a discussion on ongoing issues related to the protection of archaeological cultural heritage in the face of many contemporary challenges. We are honored to have with us distinguished speakers today, whom I cordially welcome. Mrs. Jyoti Hosagrahar, Deputy Director, World Heritage Center, UNESCO. Mr. Munir Bushanaki, Chair of the Scientific Committee ALIF, former Assistant Director General of UNESCO, Director General of ICC Rome. Mrs. Anna Wdoliak, UNESCO Chair in International Law and Cultural Heritage, University of Technology, Sydney, Coordinator, UNESCO-UNITWIN Network on Culture in Emergency. For years, Poland has played a significant role in protecting cultural heritage on the international stage, guided by the principle of solidarity and international cooperation. We have been also very strongly involved in archaeological heritage protection, with a particular focus on addressing the destruction of heritage caused by conflicts. In this context, it is worth mentioning the activity of the UNESCO-UNITWIN Network on Cultural Emergency, co-led by University in Poland and Australia, to deal with the issue of preserving cultural heritage in emergency. It should be perhaps added that Poland is currently a member of the Executive Committee of the International Campaign for the establishment of the Nubia Museum in Aswan and the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization in Cairo. I would also like to emphasize the role of the fellowships program conducted by the Polish government in cooperation with UNESCO. UNESCO Poland sponsors fellowship in archaeology and conservation at the Adam Mickiewicza University, which will be presented today in the second part of our meeting. This program is implemented with particular focus on UNESCO's global priorities such as Africa, gender priority. It aims to enable scientists from Africa and SIDS countries, small island development.
Thank you very much, dear professor. Our first speaker is Ms. Jyoti Hosagrar, Deputy Director, World Heritage Center, Managing and Conserving Archaeological World Heritage Sites in the face of climate change. So the topic is pivotal and crucial. Jyoti, do we have you here?
Yes.
Excellent. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dear Excellency, Ms. Marta Cienkowska, Deputy Minister of Culture and National Heritage of Poland, dear Mr. Monir Bushnaki, Chair of the Scientific Committee of ALIF, former Assistant Director General of UNESCO and Director General of ICROM, Ms. Anna Wrodlak, UNESCO Chair, dear Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being with us today, and I would like to start by extending my sincere gratitude to the Polish National Commission for UNESCO and UNESCO-UNITWIN Network on Culture in Emergencies and the Adam Mickiewicz University in Poznań for bringing us all together. With your permission, I will switch to my my presentation. What I would like just to be able to speak about today very briefly is to look at the archaeological sites, but in doing so, I want to be able to look at a few different examples and start by recalling the goal 11 on making cities and human settlements inclusive and safe, and the urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. This is the framework in which we are discussing today the relevance of some of these actions and the impact of climate change on archaeological sites. To reaffirm, first of all, UNESCO's long-standing commitment to protecting archaeological heritage, the 1954 Hague Convention for the Protection of Cultural Property in the Event of Armed Conflict was the very first UNESCO Culture Convention, notably recognizing archaeological sites as cultural properties deserving special safeguarding. And shortly thereafter, in 1956, the recommendation on international principles applicable for archaeological excavations expanded to how we conduct research, excavation, and conservation of these irreplaceable traces of our past. UNESCO's work to safeguard our heritage continued with the 1970 Convention on the Means of Prohibiting and Preventing the Illicit Import, Export, and Transfer of Ownership of Cultural Property, which directly tackles the looting and trafficking of cultural objects, a threat that often begins at archaeological sites. Currently ratified by 147 states, this normative tool affirms the importance of protecting cultural property against the dangers of theft, clandestine excavations, and illicit export, and recognizes the centrality of international cooperation in this regard. Then the 1972 Convention concerning the protection of world cultural and natural heritage underscored the global responsibility to preserve not just natural wonders, but also cultural treasures, including those that reflect civilizations long gone, that yet remain essential to our collective identity. Today, out of the 1,223 cultural and natural heritage sites inscribed on the World Heritage List, 97 are recognized as archaeological sites across 52 states parties out of 196. And among them, one is a transboundary site. 93 are cultural sites, and 4 are mixed sites, and 10 are classified as being in danger. And the map on the slide illustrates their geographical distribution. And despite the sort of robust legal frameworks, archaeological sites are frequently at risk during conflict and crisis, where looting often thrives in situations of instability, and where stolen artifacts vanish into international black markets, stripping communities of their heritage. But also, in response to this, the United Nations Security Council adopted a series of resolutions, most notably Resolution 2199 in 2015, 2253 in 2015, and then the 2347 in 2017, explicitly condemning the illicit trafficking of cultural property from conflict zones such as Iraq and Syria. Yet looting represents only one facet of the danger. Disasters also present significant hazards, from earthquakes to floods, often reducing centuries of cultural wealth into rubble in a matter of moments. Here's an example in Micronesia. Increasing storm surges and coastal erosion put these archaeological remains at risk. One of the United Nations major focus objectives through the Sustainable Goals for 2030 has been the focus on urgent action to combat climate change. The impacts of climate change on world heritage were first brought to the attention of UNESCO in 2005, and subsequently in 2007 published the policy document on the impacts of climate change on world heritage properties. That was followed by other foundational publications, and most recently an update, the new policy document now on climate action for world heritage. This was adopted in 2023 November by the General Assembly of States Parties of the World Heritage Convention. And this document really aims to assist states parties with the implementation of climate action and provides a pathway to utilize synergies between the World Heritage Convention and the UNFCCC and other multilateral agreements, and provides an outcome-oriented policy framework for the development of goals and targets at the national and heritage site levels, updating national heritage management tools. A supporting product to the policy document is the forthcoming capacity building toolkit for climate action for world heritage, where the World Heritage Center has been working together with the advisory bodies, ICROM, ICOMOS, and IUCN in developing the toolkit, which is the first joint toolkit, and that aims to support states, parties, and site managers to integrate climate change in the management strategies of UNESCO World Heritage sites. One notable example of climate threat at UNESCO World Heritage archaeological sites is the example of Bam in Iran, where in December 2003, a powerful earthquake struck the region, causing extensive damage to the historic mud-brick structures of Bam Citadel, one of the world's largest earthen architectural complexes. This even highlighted how vulnerable archaeological sites can be to disasters, underscoring the importance of disaster risk management and preparedness in heritage protection. And in light of this, UNESCO has strengthened its efforts to promote culture as a tool of resilience and recovery during emergencies, and to enhance the protection of archaeological heritage sites through a multidisciplinary approach in a growing need to standardize the definition of state ownership of those cultural objects yet undiscovered, mainly from archaeological sites. UNESCO and UNITWIN developed the model provisions on state ownership of undiscovered cultural objects to support the strengthening of national legislations. Since Chan Chan was inscribed on the World Heritage List in danger, a master plan has been developed with the support of the World Heritage Fund, and training for conservation and management has significantly improved. In earthen structures that are particularly vulnerable, becoming quickly damaged by natural erosion when exposed to the environment. As a result, they require continuous conservation efforts and substantial additional measures. The rapid and seemingly unstoppable erosion remains a significant obstacle to gaining in-depth knowledge of the site, with many structures excavated and surveyed in the past having suffered substantial decay to address these challenges. The World Heritage Committee recommended at the time of inscription that appropriate measures be taken for the conservation, restoration, and management of the site. Excavation work should be halted unless accompanied by suitable conservation measures, and all possible steps be taken to control the plundering of the site. In September of 1997, $50,000 was provided in emergency assistance allocated through the World Heritage Fund to implement immediate measures to protect the most significant and vulnerable parts of Chan Chan against the devastating impacts of the El Niño phenomenon. The mission included technical training for cultural professionals, engagement with local communities and stakeholders, and consultations with environmentalists, architects, and tourism industry representatives to elaborate a recovery strategy for the culture sector in the affected provinces, especially in Chan Chan. The first management plan was approved in 2000 and was updated and reviewed as new conditions arose and actions prescribed are completed. Implementation of the action plan has been mainly involved the maintenance of drains that control the water table, stabilization of perimeter walls of palaces and funerary platforms, the control of vegetation, maintenance of public use areas, architectural documentation for conservation and management capacity building for local craftsmen, and awareness of building measures for students and the local communities. I would like to conclude my presentation by mentioning a paper that has a report that highlights the non-economic losses of cultural heritage that was recently published, non-economic losses of cultural heritage due to climate change impacts, that has been recently published by the UNFCCC, for which UNESCO was a co-lead, focusing on cultural heritage. This paper identifies several different losses resulting from the cultural heritage loss and the value that it holds for both globally and for the local communities. The impacts of climate change that are causing loss and damage to cultural heritage, from archaeological sites to historic cities, artifacts, living heritage elements, and underwater heritage. The losses may include the loss of distinctive forms and expressions of identity, accumulated cultural and environmental knowledge, skills related to local resources and livelihoods, traditional forms of governance systems and inspiration and innovation, as well as diminished food and water security, and loss of adaptive capacity and resilience of communities, including their resilience to disasters. For example, archaeological sites such as Angkor in Cambodia and Anuradhapura in Sri Lanka included extensive and sophisticated water management systems. Such knowledge is of immense value to future generations. These losses are frequently experienced as multiple and overlapping losses, the losses of cultural heritage, may disproportionately impact the most vulnerable communities, including marginalized groups and certain indigenous people. Therefore, the protection of and safeguarding of cultural heritage is itself a significant climate action, integrating cultural heritage into comprehensive risk management, as well as climate plans and policies at all levels, from the national to the local, is essential. Reinforcing cultural resilience is urgent, including inventorying and strengthening governance systems and legislation, and ensuring the full engagement of local communities and indigenous peoples, as well as other stakeholders in the processes. And with that, I want to thank you all very much and wish you an excellent rest of the workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jyoti. Thank you for your very important and excellent contribution. Indeed, we do need special regulatory frameworks to address the problems of archaeological cultural heritage. And we need objective matching tools, that is, for instance, capacity building toolkit. Thank you once more, and thanks to the Center for supporting us and this initiative. Now I would like to pass to the next speaker, Dr. Munir Bushnaki, Chair of the Scientific Committee ALIF, former Assistant Director General of UNESCO and Director General of ICROM. The title of the presentation is Archaeological Cultural Heritage, Remarks on Illicit Traffic of Cultural Property and Cultural Heritage Intentional Destruction. Thank you, Munir, for joining us today. The floor is yours.
Okay, so I want first to say my gratitude to the Polish National Commission, to the Ministry of Culture, and of course, to my colleagues and friends at the World Heritage Center of UNESCO, and in particular to Dr. Jyoti, who made a very, very comprehensive presentation about this topic concerning the archaeological heritage, its management, but also the challenges which are unfortunately touching this very important part of cultural heritage that UNESCO followed already in December 1956 by the first recommendation about the protection of archaeological heritage. It's true that we have seen during the history of UNESCO that one very important program that I had the responsibility to follow since the years 1982 was the international campaign for the creation of 2 museums. And of course, Poland was, and the experts from Poland were closely associated to this international campaign. It was with the aim of building the Museum of Aswan, which is called the Nubia Museum, and also the Museum of Egyptian Civilization in Cairo. This is a campaign which was totally dedicated of building museums in order to protect the very rich archaeological heritage which was found by this international campaign, where so many countries, and of course Poland, was deeply associated. Poland experts were working not only in Egypt, but also in Sudan, because this campaign was, this international campaign was linking both Cairo, the architectural and archaeological heritage in Egypt because of the building of the dam in Aswan, but also linked to the pharaonic heritage in Sudan. And I will come later about the disaster that unfortunately the Sudan archaeological heritage is confronted with. So this campaign was very important because it has done to the public the possibility not only to see 20 years of restoration of archaeological sites in Egypt and in Sudan, but also to see the very rich collections of archaeological items, but also ethnographical items that are now presented very brightly in the Museum of Aswan, and then the recent completion of the work in the Museum of Cairo. So these are the positive aspects of the work that UNESCO has launched in direction of cultural heritage, and in particular, archaeological heritage. Then we had another very important campaign, which was launched in Pakistan for one of the oldest archaeological site in the Indian continent, the site of Mohenjo-daro. And this campaign was quite successful until, unfortunately, the last 2-3 years, where the flooding was covering a great part of the Mohenjo-daro campaign. And we were supposed to work, UNESCO was supposed to prepare a very important ceremony for the completion of this international campaign. But now the work which is done is only to save what has been damaged by the flooding in the Indus Valley on the site of Mohenjo-daro. Another very important example of presentation of a site and one of the very first urban setting of more than 4,000 years in the present country of Pakistan. Then UNESCO launched, after the end of the war in Cambodia in 1992, a very important project concerning the site of Angkor, which is one of the largest archaeological parks in the world, which was inscribed on the World Heritage List in 1992. And then there was a very important system put in place by two countries, Japan and France, establishing the International Coordination Committee for the safeguarding and the development of the site of Angkor. And this committee is still working after 30 years from its creation in Tokyo in November 1993. And this international committee is supported by a number of countries and institutions, like the World Monuments Fund, for example, for the study of the archaeological sites, the preservation of these archaeological sites, and the presentation of the site of Angkor with hundreds of temples of the Khmer period. Here also, we are faced, as Dr. Jyoti said a few minutes ago, we are faced in Angkor with the climate change and the flooding that has to be addressed by the experts in hydrology. And now there are a number of actions taken by the national body dealing with the protection of the site, which is called Apsara. This body, which is chaired by the Minister of Culture of Cambodia, is using the old structure of the barai, that means these big places of collecting water, in order to avoid the complication coming from the flooding, one of the very serious flooding which affected the site of Angkor was the flooding in 2011. The work of archaeology was followed also by another international campaign which was launched in the late 90s for the site of Tyre in Lebanon. But unfortunately, because of the situation in the Middle East, the archaeological works, the presentation of the site is not really followed as it has been done in other international campaigns, and particularly one successful campaign for an archaeological site where Poland was associated, the site of Carthago in Tunisia. So these are some examples that in my first part of the presentation I wanted to address. I want to apologize that I suffered in my apartment from flooding in my apartment, and all my documents have to be cleaned and dried up. That's why I have no picture with me actually in presenting these important sites where I worked in Cambodia, in Tyre, in Carthage, and of course we continued this activity even during the war in Afghanistan. And Dr. Jyoti showed you one important archaeological site with the minaret of Jam in Afghanistan, where despite the political difficult situation, UNESCO launched a program of restoration and protection of this minaret, which is now on the World Heritage List and on the World Heritage List in danger. We continued to work actually with the support of Alif and Aga Khan in Afghanistan for a very important Buddhist site, which is called Mesainak. This site could be put in danger. It's not yet on the World Heritage List, but it will certainly one day be recognized of one of the major Buddhist sites in Afghanistan. The site is now subject to a project of mining, and with the support of UNESCO office in Kabul, with the support of the Aga Khan Trust Fund and the support of Alif, there is a big operation underway to, first of all, consolidate the site, protect the sculptures, the Buddhist sculptures, and propose a total protection of the area of this very important Mesainak site. Now, the subject that my friend and colleague Professor Alicia and Professor Anna asked me to present is the danger where archaeological sites are faced. I have, unfortunately, the experience of following what happened in Iraq after the war in 2003. And I went to Baghdad when we have seen on the television on the 8th of April 2003, people entering into the National Museum in Baghdad and taking objects under their hands. So I organized a mission with the director of the British Museum, Dr. Neil McGregor, the director of the Massachusetts Institute of Art, John Russell, the director of the Italo-Iraqi Center, architect Parapetti, and the chief of the Japanese archaeological mission in Iraq. And the five of us, we went to Baghdad and we did the first report on the looting of the Iraqi museum, because there was a kind of mistake when the Americans entered Baghdad. They didn't put a protection to the National Museum of Baghdad, and of course it was opened to looting. So we did the first report on this looting to UNESCO, and then the then Director General Koichiro Matsuura sent our report to the UN, and the first resolution of the UN about the looting of objects was made in June 2023, 2003. This was the first resolution of the UN declaring that it is important that the international community takes measures to make the identification of these objects, which were, of course, sent through different ways. They were sent through Turkey, through Lebanon, through countries of the Gulf area. And we counted that about 15,000 objects were looted. So the operation that we did at UNESCO was, first of all, to work with Interpol. And I signed an agreement in May 2003 with the Director General of Interpol in the city of Lyon, where they have their headquarters. And this operation helped all the ministries of interior of the countries around Iraq, but also far from Iraq, to recuperate quite a number of objects. And now we have seen in the last few years quite reasonable number of objects which were recuperated and sent back to the Museum of Baghdad, which was restored with the support of Italy and Japan. This was one of the operations where the objects were targeted and sent to the illicit market in many places in the world. Unfortunately, after this war in Iraq, we have seen after which was called the Arab Spring in Syria, in many countries, even in Egypt, we have seen that in the uprising that we have seen happening in these countries from Libya, Tunisia, Egypt, Syria, Iraq, we have seen the group of terrorists targeting archaeological sites. And we have all in your memory how this group called Daesh was destroying important sites and filming the destruction by themselves. So they were making publicity of the destruction of the sites, like the site of Palmyra, where the Temple of Bel, the Temple of Baal-Shamim, the theater, and many important and the Triumphal Arch in Palmyra, which was a site inscribed on the World Heritage List, and that the World Heritage Committee has immediately inscribed on the World Heritage List in danger because of what we have seen and what the group of terrorists themselves they presented with their publicity. Of course, the objects in the Museum of Palmyra were also damaged, but also many objects were taken out. We have seen also, and we are working now actually with the Iraqi responsible in the Museum of Mosul. You know that also the Museum of Mosul, the city of itself was under the direction of the Daesh terrorist group for more than 3 years. But when they left the city of Mosul and when the government of Iraq recuperated the city, there was an operation launched by Mrs. Azoulay, the Director General of UNESCO, for reviving the spirit of Mosul. In this operation, which is now considered as one of the successful operations of revival and restoring the city of Mosul, one of the objects, one of the important monument of Mosul was the Museum of Mosul. It was very badly damaged. We have terrible pictures about the Museum of Mosul. Today, the operation of restoration is done under the direction of the Museum of the Louvre in Paris. So the experts of the Louvre are making a very, very fine work with their colleagues from Iraqi colleagues in Mosul for the objects. And the World Monuments Fund from New York is working on the building itself because the architecture of the Museum of Mosul is considered as an important element of modern architectural heritage. Syria now is returning slowly to, it seems, a normal life. And we know that a lot of experts from different countries and experts also from Poland. I have seen, for example, experts from Poland in the Museum of Palmyra working for the restoration of the head of the lion, which was also destroyed during the occupation of the site by Daesh. So we have actually, and of course I can speak for much longer, but we have actually this week very, very bad notice about Sudan. And here I'm sure that my colleagues from Poland, from Warsaw, or from Poznań, who worked in Sudan, who worked in the National Museum. I was many times in the Museum of Khartoum. Now I have from friends and colleagues from Sudan sending me terrible images about the looting of the National Museum of Khartoum. And I have also a video, but it's too long to send it to you, a video showing lorries and the plane taking away the objects of the Museum of Khartoum. So I think your meeting, the meeting that you are organizing, I consider it of very important, because we have now with UNESCO, with ICROM, with UNIDROIT, I mean, all the institutions dealing with the protection of cultural heritage, we should launch an alert about Sudan and its archaeological objects. The climate change is also, and I don't want to repeat what my colleague Dr. Jyoti has said, it's also is having an impact, negative impact on archaeological sites. There are sites where the construction, as she showed us in Chanchan, but also in many countries in the south, where buildings are in mud. We think about all the cities in Africa, in Mali, in Niger. These countries are suffering from the drought, but also suffering from very rapid and terrible flooding. One recent flooding in Libya destroyed a whole city, the city of Derna, and affected a World Heritage Site of Cyrene, which is one of the very important Greek sites in Libya. So we are in this presentation. I am really happy that you put as a topic the importance of archaeological sites, the importance of the management of the archaeologicals, the importance of linking the presentation, restoration, and the development for the economic situation of the population living near these sites, but also the very, very urgent cry that we should appeal that we should make about Sudan. It is now the emergency action that should be made in order to avoid the total looting of the archaeological sites in Sudan, and also the damage to the archaeological monuments. So this is what I can say from my own experience, having been on all these sites during my time at UNESCO, but also during my time at ICROM. And during the last 10 years, when I retired from UNESCO and ICROM, I participated to the launching of an institution in Bahrain called, under the UNESCO patronage, of course, called the Arab Regional Center for World Heritage. And during the last 10 years, we were working both on the question of management of sites, and particularly the archaeological sites, whether in Morocco, Mauritania, Libya, Tunisia, and also Saudi Arabia now, where a very important archaeological site is taken as a flagship for the Saudi Arabia archaeological site, the site of Madain Saleh, called also Al-Ula. It is comparable to the site of Petra in Jordan. And we see with the work that was done in Bahrain by the Arab Regional Center for World Heritage and the Ministry of Culture of Saudi Arabia, how this site is now bringing a lot of possibilities in terms of economic well-being for the population, for the locals who are near this site. It was not very well known in 20 years ago when we were presenting the site for its inscription on the World Heritage List, but today it is becoming, as I said, a flagship archaeological site in Saudi Arabia. So this is, I don't want to be too long, but this is why I think it is important that your seminar, and really I thank the National Commission of UNESCO Poland and also Ministry of Culture and the World Heritage Center for, participating to the knowledge and the understanding of what the importance for all humanity, the importance of keeping and safeguarding the valuable archaeological sites in the world. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Munir, for this very substantial intervention. Thank you for raising the issue of Sudan and endangered archaeological cultural heritage there. And also the fact that you stressed the importance of cooperation of international partners, ICROM, UNESCO, Interpol, UNIDROIT. We were really happy to hear about your experience with the Polish partners. This was really great for us. Just to add, the mentioned Arab Regional Center for Cultural Heritage, for World Heritage, was one and was among founding fathers of the UNITWIN Culture in Emergencies, that is coordinated by University of Adam Mickiewicza University and University of Technology, Sydney. Once more, thank you. Our next speaker is Professor Anna Filipa-Wdoliak, UNESCO Chair in International Law and Cultural Heritage at the University of Technology, Sydney, and co-coordinator of UNESCO-UNITWIN Network Culture in Emergencies. Yesterday, together with Professor Filipa-Wdoliak, we participated in the thematic workshop on safeguarding and restitution of cultural heritage to protect human rights, organized by G20 Cultural Working Group under the South African presidency. Participants raised concerns about illicit excavations and trafficking, emphasizing that the protection of cultural heritage is a security issue. Today, Professor Wdoliak will present a paper on archaeological undiscovered objects. Professor Wdoliak, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the organisers, the Polish National Commission for UNESCO, the Adam Mickiewicza University Poznań, which we at UTS are proud to have as co-coordinators of the UNESCO-UNITWIN Network on Culture and Emergencies, and of course my dear colleague, the Chair, Professor Alicia Jagaleska-Budak, the UNESCO Chair in Cultural Property Law, for providing this opportunity for this intervention on archaeological undiscovered objects. I also thank my fellow panellists and especially Dr. Bushnaki, who I always say I wish I had half his energy, as you've seen. So let me begin. The World Heritage Committee has been aware since at least 1997 that the inscription of sites on the World Heritage List often increases vulnerability to illicit traffic of cultural goods because increased publicity, access, popularity and marketability. The committee observed that the problem applies to remote and easily accessible sites developed in developing countries and can accelerate a pre-existing trade or indeed create a new illicit market. It called on states parties to the World Heritage Convention to accede and to implement specialist treaties regulating such traffic, like the Convention on the Means of Prohibiting and Preventing the Illicit Import, Export and Transfer or Ownership of Cultural Property of 1970, and the UNIDROIT Convention on Stolen or Illegally Exported Cultural Objects of 1995. It also asked them to consider becoming states parties to the Convention on the Protection of Cultural Property in the event of armed conflict of 1954 and its protocols, the specialist treaty covering armed conflict and belligerent occupation, when sites are especially vulnerable to such losses, as Dr. Bushnaki made us very aware just now. In the intervening decades, the UN Security Council has repeatedly condemned the illicit traffic of cultural materials from World Heritage sites during armed conflicts and the use of these proceeds in funding terrorist activities. While there has been an increase in the number of states parties to these other culture treaties in recent years, they still lag behind the near universal uptake of the World Heritage Convention. And while there is overlap between the states parties to the World Heritage Convention and these specialist treaties on movable heritage, the uptake is less in regions most vulnerable to cultural loss due to armed conflict, rapid development and other disruptive factors. The committee also has reminded states parties to the 1970 Convention of the need for constant vigilance of the market in cultural property and encouraging them to use existing means to prevent illegal trafficking of goods from World Heritage sites from being traded on their territories, contrary to the duty of mutual assistance under the Convention. The operational guidelines also recognise the obligation under the Convention aligns with preventative measures. In addition, the World Heritage Committee has noted that mutual assistance under the Convention means that states parties should identify and return illicit trade of cultural materials, since their absence from looted sites directly affects the preservation of sites as a whole and the values from which they are inscribed on the World Heritage List. The 1970 UNESCO Convention and its operational guidelines and model provisions, which are currently being finalised before the subsidiary committee, provide guidance on how states parties assist in identifying and returning illicitly traded objects from sites protected by the World Heritage Convention. Equally, the committee's call reflects a growing consciousness across various frameworks which implement UNESCO's culture treaties of a broader and more holistic understanding of cultural heritage and the corresponding need to harmonise their operations. This trend is recognised in respect of the obligations arising under the World Heritage Convention, not simply being confined to physical and immovable aspects of protected sites, but also extending to movable heritage and intangible culture. And similar trend is detectable in respect of the implementation of the 1970 Convention. This cross-fertilisation between protection of significant sites and the suppression of illicit traffic of cultural materials appears especially pronounced for World Heritage properties inscribed with the archaeological, anthropological and ethnographic significance. Many protected sites overlap with the traditional lands of Indigenous peoples, as was noted by Dr. Jyoti, who has experienced the ongoing theft of their material culture prior to the 1970 Convention and the World Heritage Convention coming into force, and indeed since its operation. Neither treaty is retroactive in application. By way of illustration, in the mid-2010s, despite the efforts of the Hopi representatives to prevent the sale, several sacred masks and ceremonial objects were auctioned in Paris. The objects had been stolen from Hopi and Navajo traditional lands, which are covered by a World Heritage Site, the Grand Canyon National Park. With this background information, let me allow me to briefly outline the international obligations under the relevant treaties covering archaeological sites and objects, including those found on World Heritage properties. Article 5D of the 1970 Convention, UNESCO Convention, and its operational guidelines encourage states parties to enact legislation and related measures for sites of archaeological interests, including movable archaeological materials. This guidance is further elaborated upon by draft model provisions for the implementation of the Convention, which are currently being finalised, as I mentioned. The operational guidelines call on states parties to protect their archaeological heritage in line with the 1956 UNESCO recommendation on the international principles for applicable to archaeological excavations, mentioned by Dr. Bushnaki. The main principles of that recommendation can be summarised as requiring archaeological research should be undertaken only for public interest, that is, for the promotion of the history of art and science. If it's undertaken for any other circumstances, it's only in extraordinary circumstances, and they are covered in the UNESCO's 1969 recommendation covering urban expansion, and other forms of industrialisation, and it has to be subject to preventative or corrective measures. Protection covering all objects belonging to a certain period or a minimum age must be laid down in domestic law. Archaeological excavations be subject to prior authorisation by the competent heritage authority. Authority to excavate be granted only to institutions represented by qualified architects or persons with, and I quote, unimpeachable scientific, moral and financial guarantees that the dig will be undertaken in accordance with the agreement with the state, and that contract should cover guarding, maintenance, restoration, conservation of objects recovered and the site upon completion of the work. The excavator or finder and subsequent holder should be required to declare any objects of archaeological nature, whether movable or immovable, and objects recovered during the work must be immediately photographed, registered and kept in a secure location. States parties are also encouraged to develop rules and mechanisms for conducting archaeological surveys for different purposes, including preventative purposes and enhancing inventorying of national archaeological sites. They are also encouraged to establish rules on the use of ground-penetrating analysis like metal detectors and prohibiting their unauthorised use. Given the correlation between clandestine excavations and socio-economic needs of local communities around archaeological sites, the operational guidelines also encourage states parties to engage in awareness raising amongst local populations. The 1970 Convention also calls for international cooperation and assistance from other states parties when a states party's cultural patrimony is in jeopardy from pillaging of archaeological and ethnographical materials. This is Article 9. The operational guidelines encourage states parties to make full use of this provision to address threats posed by clandestine excavations due to natural disasters and conflicts. States will participate in concerted international efforts to determine and carry out necessary concrete measures, including the control of exports and imports and international commerce in relation to such materials. Until a bilateral or multilateral agreement is finalised, each state must take provisional measures to the extent feasible to prevent irredeemable injury to the cultural heritage of that requesting state. Support offered should not be restricted to mutual assistance on return or restitution, but also cover capacity building, training and site protection, as we will hear later on in this webinar. The operational guidelines emphasise that this information should be reflected in the country's laws and practices, and that information be passed on to UNESCO for inclusion on its national law database. States are also required or requested to draw up categorical or indeed representative lists of protected cultural property, of describing the general types of cultural patrimony rather than specific objects. This latter issue raises an important concern which is addressed by the model provisions on state ownership of undiscovered cultural objects prepared by UNESCO and UNITWIN almost a decade ago, or indeed over a decade ago. Although not binding, the model provisions address an important impediment for the effective working of the obligations under the 1970 UNESCO and 1995 UNITWIN conventions in facilitating restitution for archaeological materials removed illicitly and transferred. Many countries' laws claim state ownership over undiscovered archaeological objects. However, the courts in several states parties on multiple occasions have refused to recognise and enforce such public laws of another state, thereby inhibiting the effective operation of those conventions. These model provisions recognise the duty of a state to preserve undiscovered cultural objects for present and future generations by taking all necessary and appropriate steps to protect them. It covers objects which are under national law of importance for archaeological, prehistory, history, literature, art and science, and are located in the soil or underwater and are owned by the state. Objects which are excavated contrary to law or are legally excavated but illicitly retained will be deemed stolen, which is crucial for the operation of restitution claims under the 1995 UNITWIN Convention. The transfer of such objects is null and void unless it can be established that the transferor had a valid title at the time of the transfer. As the international community prepares its post-2030 development agenda, as our chair noted, the importance of articulating culture as a standalone sustainable development goal is coming to the fore again. From the Montreal meetings to the G20 meetings and indeed the UN Summit for the Future last year and its declaration for future generations. Each of these recognise the need to effectively address and curb cultural losses due to illicit trade in cultural goods, including from archaeological sites, which is becoming a crucial part of this platform. It is for this reason that states parties to the World Heritage Convention, especially those entrusted with properties of outstanding universal value because of their archaeological importance, indeed all states parties should ensure that they ratify and effectively implement the Culture Conventions on Movable Heritage, including the 1970 UNESCO Convention, the 1995 UNITWIN Convention, the 1954 Hague Convention, its first protocol, and related instruments like the 1954 6 UNESCO recommendation and the model provisions on undiscovered cultural objects to most effectively ensure their protection for present and future generations. Thank you for your time, and I take this opportunity to wish Poland the best of luck in their campaign for election to the World Heritage Committee.
Thank you very much, Professor Doriak. Thank you for raising this important documents such as Pact for the Future, as well as the upcoming Mondial 2025. We are, as UNITWIN Culture in Emergencies, preparing a side event for this occasion and would like to contribute to the general debate. You mentioned the importance of synergies among UNESCO cultural conventions, but also this two sides of the very same coin, 1970 UNESCO Convention together with UNIDROIT 1995 Convention. Thank you for this, and it's all connected, as you mentioned, together with Dr. Jyoti Hosagrar, the role of local communities, the role of resilience and preparedness. That is why we are seeing it as a big picture with bird eye view, both human origin hazard and nature origin hazards. Let me convey gratitude to all the speakers of the panel today, and it was really put for thought. I would like to ask whether there are any questions from the audience, online audience. We do have over 60 participants online. If yes, please raise the hand. If yes, Marina Schneider. From the UNIDROIT, International Organization for the Unification of Private Law. Marina, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alicia. And it's a pleasure it has been a pleasure to listen to all the speakers, and I take this opportunity to say a particular hello, sorry to all of you, but Mr. Bushnaki, whom I haven't seen for quite a long time, and Anna, of course. Thank you very much for reminding the importance and the relevance, also Mrs. Hosagrar, for the relevance of the UNIDROIT instruments, and one elaborated with UNESCO, the model provisions. Indeed, the archaeological objects are deemed a special protection, in particular in time of climate change and wars, because they are objects which are totally unknown. And this is why the model provisions in particular are fundamental to help states to strengthen their legislation. And as Anna very well underlined, if a state has such a patrimony law, which is well drafted and even with a good English translation, because we've seen that some courts have refused restitution because the law translated into English was not really establishing the state property, so they would be deemed stolen. And I wanted to say to Mr. Bushnaki, who spoke about Sudan, indeed, recently we had, last week, we had a training specific for Sudan with the UNESCO office in Cairo. And of course, the situation is extremely difficult, but everybody is trying to help, and there will be another one next week in Cairo, in 2 weeks' time, in Cairo for Sudan and Palestine, other country where archaeology is very much at threat. Congratulations again to the organizers of the meeting, and good luck to Poland for the World Heritage Committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marina, for your intervention. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to see you all together with the speakers online or offline. I do not see any other questions. So I would like to thank the audience, online participants, for the active engagement in the debate and in following us today. The main, let's say so, home message is the importance of enhancing cooperation among partners and identifying vital stakeholders dedicated to archaeological cultural heritage protection. Thank you all panelists for the excellent contributions. Thanks to World Heritage Center as well as Culture in Emergencies entity for supporting us with their expertise and distributing the information about today's event through their networks. Without further ado, let's move to the second part of the meeting. This part will be chaired by Dr. Paulina Suchowska-Dułkę. Thank you.
Dear participants, thank you very much for being with us here in Poznań and also online. I am honored to be able to chair our second part of the discussion. And as you have seen within the program, we have divided this in 4 parts. I will shortly introduce what are we going to talk about, and then I will give the floor to people who supposed to say a few words here. First part is, of course, introduction. And here we have Dr. Dov Lynch from UNESCO, Chief of the Section for Relations with Member States, Sector for Priority Africa and External Relations, and Rector for International Cooperation at Adam Mickiewicz University in Poznań, Professor Rafał Witkowski. Then we will move to the second part, second subsection, where Professor Dobrowna Zielińska from Faculty of Archaeology of Warsaw University will say a few words regarding UNESCO and Polish archaeological expertise. Then we will move to the third important part, where Secretary General of Polish National Commission for UNESCO, Professor Alicja Jagielska-Burduk, will present the next edition of UNESCO Poland co-sponsored fellowship program in archaeology and conservation. And then a mysteriously called team presentation. And this part is going to be connected with global changes that cultural heritage is facing, and how technological development can work hand in hand with archaeology and also in the museums. And this part of the discussion will be take care of with the students, with fellows and alumni who are also present with us here. We have three alumni. 2 are joining us online. This is May Bayoumi and Mohammad Abdelrahman Ahmed Mansour. We have 1 alumni also here in Poznań, El-Monser El-Mubarak. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your names incorrectly. It's not intentional. We have also 3 fellows here, all of them in Poznań. Heba Sharif Abdallah, Mohamed Salah Ashwami, and Ahmed Abdel Fattah Mohammed. And fellows and alumni are going to have presentation. But as we already mentioned, introduction. And first, I would like to invite Dr. Dov Lynch, who is here with us.
Thank you very much, Paulina. Thank you, and welcome to all participants of this the second session of the webinar. And I wish to thank the Polish National Commission and the UNITWIN Network on Culture and Emergencies, which is and the Adam Mickiewicz University in Poznań for organizing this. If I can just introduce myself, so my name is Dov Lynch, and I am the Director for External Relations at UNESCO. So this is part of the external relations sector. So I'm not an expert, I'm not a specialist in archaeology and conservation, but it's a great pleasure to speak, just to share a few words with you today about the fellowship program which we have created with, which we have co-sponsored now with Poland for over 25 years. I just want to say a special word of thanks to 2 persons who have really been driving forces behind this fellowship program, which is we heard from the President of the National Commission a bit earlier, Professor Kleiber, such a strong intellectual and presence in this fellowship, and also to the Secretary General of the National Commission, Poland's National Commission, which is Alicja Jagielska-Burduk, who just moderated the first session. So thank you to you both. In UNESCO, Poland has a very special role, and I want to highlight that. Poland is one of our higher education champions at UNESCO, with I think 12 UNESCO chairs, and of course this new UNITWIN network on cultural emergencies, cultural heritage and emergencies. The co-sponsored fellowship program we've created with Poland is really one of the flagships of our partnership, and it's been, I think, existed now for over 25 years. 25 years of building exchanges, 25 years of building capacity, 25 years of helping young researchers develop their networks, develop their skills. We did the calculation. It's over 400 fellows from, I think I have the number here, 78 countries across the world, right, in 2 fellowship programs. One is in engineering, and the second is the one which we're looking at today, which is in archaeology and conservation. So that's 400 fellows from across the world. It's an amazing number. Each of these, has really gone on, and we'll hear from them later. To transform. They've been transformed by this fellowship, but they've gone on to transform the societies, the communities in which they live, and this is why we do this. The Archaeology and Conservation Fellowship, and we're so grateful to the Adama Mickiewicza University for hosting the fellows. This year we had, for 2024, we've had 25 fellows in all over the whole period, 11 from Africa, 13 from the Arab region, I think 1 from Europe. So that's a strong representation. I think we're very happy with that. In 2024, we had 4 fellows, and we plan for 7 fellows in 2025. So just to highlight that for your importance, we're going to have the call for applications now. It's very stringent, very strict. We really seek fellows who are have strong accomplishments, strong backgrounds, and ready for development and potential, and that's why it's so important. I think I can't say as a non-specialist why archaeology and conservation is so important, but I heard this morning why it is, and we're reminded from our colleagues in UNESCO and outside UNESCO the importance of archaeology and conservation for the work that UNESCO does to protect and promote cultural heritage across the world. This famous American writer, William Faulkner, said that the past is never dead. Sorry. Past is never dead, he said. It's not even past, right? We all know that. I think it's something which informs our own lives in the present. It's something which is important for the shaping the future. So I think especially, and this is why the UNITWIN network is so important, this new UNITWIN network on culture and emergencies is a vital new platform and a vital new part of the work that UNESCO is going to be doing with Poland. We've seen in crises and in conflicts across the world, and one very close to Poland, which is in Ukraine, how culture is at the heart of conflicts today, very unfortunately, and how how culture can be targeted directly, or it can be an indirect. Indirectly affected by conflicts, and it's really important that we have this kind of network to build research, to build networks, and to inform policymaking. And it's really that we really welcome this new UNITWIN network with great warmth. I mentioned earlier the 400 fellows we've supported, and the 25 in this particular fellowship. Those are numbers, and I think what we're interested in now, and this is why the second session is so interesting, is that we want to see the faces behind them. And each of these men, these women, has been from across different regions, from different countries, from different cultures, has been affected, and they've also changed us, right? So they've changed, and they've changed the way we work. They've changed the way we see the world, and we want to thank them, and we want to hear their stories. So that's why I want to just close with my introduction by thanking again the Polish National Commission, Adama Mickiewicza University, and especially all the fellows, because they are the ones who are bringing their energy, their potential, their intellect, and at a time when we need this more than ever. So, Paulina, thank you very much. I'll end there, and I'll stay online, of course, and listen with great attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lynch, very much. And you are going to see some of the fellows today. Good. Yes, I agree. Now, if I may, Rector Rafał Witkowski from Adama Mickiewicza University. Thank you.
Madame and Monsieur, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, salam. First of all, I would like to congratulate the panelists who took part in the first session, because we are able to listen extremely inspiring presentations about what can be done, what was done, and how the research can be conducted. On behalf of the Adam Mickiewicz University, I would like to first of all thank you, my dear colleagues from Poznan team, Alice, Wojtek, and the others who engaged themselves to prepare that meeting. Also, my colleagues from the Faculty of Archaeology. I am extremely proud that Professor Szofański from the Faculty of Law is one of the members of the Polish National Commission for UNESCO, and together with the friends and co-workers from the University of Technology in Sydney, we jointly ran the project UNITWIN Cultures in Emergencies. There's a good example that people from the northern and from the southern part of the globe can jointly cooperate in order to preserve our culture and our heritage. And what is more important, in the second panel, we'll be able to listen to fellows who exactly are at the moment in Poznań, who can enjoy the academic life at the university here in Poznań, and we will be able to listen to their presentations in which way Poznań can support UNESCO, and in which way Poznań can contribute to the development of that project. It is why I would like to thank you, Dov Lynch, Director of the Division for International Relations, and his entire team, as well as the Polish National Commission for UNESCO, for jointly cooperation to relaunch the UNESCO Poznań co-sponsorship, co-sponsored fellowship program in archaeology. As Dov mentioned before, a few seconds before, we are expecting the new cohort of the fellows to come soon, and the number of those who will come to Poznań will increase. That is the best proof how Poznań and Adam Mickiewicz University is committed to that program, and it is why I want to ensure everybody who is in charge that this is our firm intention, first to host and to support and to help our colleagues from other countries to increase their knowledge and their skills in archaeology in order to help them to be back to their home countries and to continue their very, very important work in preservation of the culture heritage. So to conclude, once again, thank you to all who contributed to arrange that workshop. And with the great hopes, I look in the future, and as Wojtek mentioned to me, we'll meet with at least some of you soon in person in Poznań, what will able to strengthen the human and academic and institutional relations between us. So long life to UNESCO. Thank you.
Thank you very much for support and for nice words as well. I would like to move now to our second part, which is UNESCO and Polish archaeological expertise. And I would like to invite Professor Dobrowna Zielińska from Warsaw University Archaeological Faculty. I hope Professor Zielińska is with us.
Yes, I hope.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Let me start short presentation that I prepared for this occasion. Of course, I will be speaking in the name of all my colleagues from different institutions. As you can see, I put here institutions that are involved in archaeological work because I will try briefly explain later. We are cooperating, and archaeology is I think the most even maybe the interdisciplinary branch of science nowadays, involving specialists of different disciplines. I would like to start a bit earlier, let's say, before the Second World War, that to show you how Polish archaeology entered international scene, let's say. Everything is connected with this person, Professor Kazimierz Michałowski, who had ambition to work with the best and in the best for him archaeological fields, namely in Egypt. And in the 30s, just before the Second World War, he started cooperation with the French mission in Edfu. Of course, the history stopped all this, and after the war, Poland started at the other side of the Iron Curtain. Nevertheless, Michałowski decided to continue, and in this new political division of the world, he came to the first site that is on our UNESCO list of the sites that are investigated by Polish archaeologists, namely Palmyra. We've heard today already about the famous lion from Alat temple that was reconstructed right after the excavations that started in at the end of 50s and destroyed by ISIS, and then restored right after the moment that Palmyra was liberated. Michałowski came back to Egypt because of the special event, again connected with UNESCO, so-called Nubian campaign, so the campaign of the salvage of Nubian heritage, where he was involved also as one of the main organizers and head of the project of the famous Abu Simbel transfer, the temples of the Ramesses II to the new site to save it from flooding by the Lake Nasser. But as an archaeologist, he has chosen slightly known site of Faras, where he could develop his vision of archaeology that was at that time called even, proudly speaking, Polish School of Archaeology, something that is nowadays absolute norm and standard on excavations. He introduced quite early, namely cooperation of specialists of very different disciplines. First of all, restorers, as we know, UNESCO is based on this cooperation very strongly. So together with archaeologists, restorers were involved in protecting more than 150 murals that a mission found at the Faras Cathedral. And with epigraphists and all the members of the missions were helping restorers in transferring murals into new locations. More than 10 years of restoration resulted in two biggest collections of Nubian, Christian Nubian art. And as we've heard already also today, I hope that most of this collection in Khartoum survived this terrible looting. We know that the biggest paintings that were too heavy to be moved and protected before Khartoum was attacked by RSF, namely famous Nativity and these two compositions that we can see here stayed at the Faras Gallery. And as I've heard or seen at the brief photos, they are saved. We stayed as Polish archaeologists in Sudan, and in last decades, another Polish excavated by Poles site was put on the list of UNESCO World Heritage, namely Zuna and Detti and Tangasi necropolis region, but two other very important are at the tentative list, namely Old Dongola, one of the medieval capitals as Faras, and nearby Banganarti, amazing center for commemoration of Makurian medieval Nubian kings. And that's how it started. And nowadays, as you can see on this map, we are active on several UNESCO sites. It's impossible to discuss all of them. I just would like to show you some of the highlights of this list, some really iconic sites to show you some of the, well, a kind of diverse interest that we have in World Heritage. One more thing that I would like to say at the end that was mentioned already, and that we will be hearing later on. Archaeology is a science of long-lasting traditions and the transfer from past to the future. And this is very important task for us. First of all, we can see that archaeology or archaeological sites are never safe. Political events can change situation drastically, and last weeks we are observing, or last years, sorry, we are observing this dynamic situation, and we have to be always ready to help in these changing conditions. So it's important to say that we are ready to help, and it's I think worth to mention that we know the region like from our own experience. Polish archaeologists and all archaeologists, of course, are working on archaeological sites for decades. We are familiar with the conditions, with communities. What is very important, we are making friendships, and we are trying always to explain to local communities how important is what we are doing for their own identity and their own past, and that's why I think we are quite easily adapting to the unexpected circumstances and urgent actions. The other thing is also that we are trying to invest in younger generations, and I'm sure that we will see results of this invest right now after my speech. And we are, from my own experience, we are, I can say that we are helping very actively, even by personal involvement in helping our colleagues nowadays from Sudan to come to Poland and bringing them to study. Political situation is a disaster for cultural heritage and archaeological sites, but also a disaster for young generations in breaking their careers, their education, first of all. So we are trying to keep it and to make it continuous. And with this, I would like to finish and thank you for your attention.
Also, thank you for emphasizing once again that archaeological sites, and not only archaeological sites, still need our protection. And it's very important to still be aware that we need to look after them. And now I would like to Professor Alicja Jagielska to present Secretary General of Polish National Commission for UNESCO to present the EU project.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. Just briefly, as already mentioned by Dov Lynch, my dear colleague, this year we are launching second edition after the official relaunch that happened after COVID-19. Participation program and fellowships, principles and conditions. As already said, we do have a long history regarding Polish and UNESCO cooperation within the fellowships program. Since 1958, we are present. The projects are coordinated by the Polish National Commission for UNESCO and with academic institutions in Poland. There were many academic institutions involved on the timeline. Now we do have cooperation with Adam Mickiewicza University. As to the archaeology and conservation fellowships, we do have new challenges. There are IT tools in cultural heritage management, protection, preparedness, just to mention satellites monitoring of archaeological sites. We have to focus on expertise sharing, capacity building, and what we try to deliver today, alumni network. This is of essence. As Professor Dobrowna-Zielińska mentioned, future generations and young generations. UNESCO priority group is youth. So we are strongly committed as a Polish National Commission to ASP.NET, UNESCO associated schools, but also to dissemination of information regarding UNESCO values. Among new challenges, just to mention reconstruction, recovery process, and famous Polish Warsaw Declaration on Recovery and Reconstruction of Cultural Heritage. Cultural heritage serves as a bridge builder piece, but after COVID, it's also an important catalyst for societies that leads to the flourishing. Today, at the premises of Adam Mickiewicz University, my alma mater, I'm proud to say that this is the second edition to be launched this year after the break caused by pandemics. Last year, we invited 5 fellows. This cycle covers 7 fellowship. Given the UNESCO standards and priorities, special attention is to be paid to female candidacies to ensure the proper representation. Important dates and timetable. Applications deadline is scheduled end May. And I'm very honored and glad to introduce coordinators, the chair of this session, Dr. Paulina Suchowska-Duke from Adam Mickiewicz University, and from the Polish National Commission for UNESCO, and Ms. Małgorzata Herbich, Polish National Commission for UNESCO. The scholarships last 9 months and starts early October. This year's edition covers 23 invited member states with focus on small island developing states and countries from Africa, Arab states, Asia, Europe, and South America. There are some requirements from the Archaeological Faculty of Archaeology regarding the graduation, obviously fluency in English, and the years threshold. The candidates are being provided with broad of courses, main courses, additional classes, and supplementary classes. The benefits offered by the Polish authorities are monthly allowances and close cooperation with the host university regarding the accommodation. Benefits offered from UNESCO, just to list air travel tickets, health insurance that is valid also in Poland with special international guidelines, and one-time special pocket allowance money. Thank you very much. I believe that this program brings much to the table regarding the future capacity building and sharing, and I'm strongly convinced that the alumni are our best ambassadors. Thank you.
we are reaching the last part of this second session, which is a team presentation. And I would like to, we will start from the fellows. And therefore, I would like to invite first fellow going to start, Mohammed. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Honored guests, professors and fellow scholars. It's a privilege to be here today as a UNESCO Fellow. This fellowship has given me a unique opportunity to explore the connections between technology, climate change, and cultural heritage, aligned with UNESCO missions to driven innovation and capacity building. I extend my deeply appreciate to the UNESCO and to the program coordinators, especially Dr. Paulina, for her invaluable support and guidance through this journey. Cultural heritage sites worldwide are increasingly at risk due to climate change, rising temperatures, extreme weather, and environmental conditions are speed up the damage to heritage sites. From coastal erosion threatening ancient structures to floods and wildfires. All of that damaging the historic monuments. Climate change is reshaping our shared past. A striking example in Alexandria, Egypt, home to the legendary Great Library and the Forest Lighthouse. Rising sea levels and saltwater intrusion are already weakening the historical buildings there, and recent studies warn that part of the city could be submerged in the coming decades. This crisis extended to the coastal heritage sites globally, damaging urgent action. UNESCO and other organizations are working on solutions, including improved monitoring, protective infrastructures, and sustainable conservation. But preserving heritage in changing climate requires collaborations among archaeologists, climate scientists, engineers, and policymakers. Beyond documentation, we must act. Conservation strategies should be integrate climate adaptation, such as flood barriers and climate-resistant materials. While digital tools like 3D scanning help preserving records of sites at risk, more importantly, heritage management must adopt climate consistent policies involving local communities and global stakeholders. The choice we make today will shape the future of our shared cultural legacy. While climate change poses challenges, technology is transforming archaeology and heritage management. AI, artificial intelligence, and remote sensing and digital tools are making or teaching us how we study and protect the past. AI enables rapid analysis of vast data, helping detect hidden archaeological sites through satellite imagery and aiding artifacts restoration with predictive models. 3D modeling and the virtual reality create impressive reconstructions, making heritage accessible worldwide, especially for endangered sites. LiDAR technology has uncovered lost cities, such as the ancient Mayan city in Guatemala, and is helping archaeologists working faster while minimizing excavations damage. In Poland, platforms, for me, I found it very useful for me. In Poland, platforms like Geoportal provide nationwide LiDAR data, leading to remarkable discoveries of ancient settlements. However, technology should complement and not replace tradition. Archaeology effective collaborations between archaeologists, data scientists, and conservation specialists is key to maximizing this advancement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for raising these important issues. Now I would like to invite our second Hello, Heba Sharif Abdallah. Dear Heba, the floor is yours.
So let me start by introducing myself in less than 1 minute. My name is Heba Abdallah, as Dr. Paulina mentioned. I studied in Faculty of Archaeology, Conservation Department in Cairo, Egypt. Then I got my master's degree from Catania University in Italy. And now, fortunately, I am a UNESCO fellow here in Mickiewicza University. So let me see this opportunity to thank UNESCO Egypt, UNESCO Poland, and our professors from Adama University, especially Dr. Paulina, for easing every step here in our journey. So my topic today is about using artificial intelligence and how we can get benefits from it to enhance our conservation process and exhibition in museums. So let's start with setting a definition for conservation. Conservation, as you all know, that it's about caring and preserving our cultural heritage and our artifacts. So conservation is based on a combination between historic studies with a lot of branches of science like chemistry, physics, biology, and now we're adding computer science represented in AI to the list. So why we consider AI as a game changer when it comes to conservation? It's all about that. It's divided into 2 points. By using AI, we can detect the deterioration aspects that it's not visible to our human eyes. So we can analyze and scan the deterioration aspects like cracks, discoloration, fading, changing of color, and we can have an action before it becomes irreversible. The other point that we can, by using AI, predict the potential deterioration that might happen to our artifacts. Here we have a case study from the National Museum of Norway, and the project is called Perceive. It's done by a group of conservators there, and they are analyzing the painting degradation of the screen, and they are studying the fading that happened to this painting along the way. And now they are not only studying the fading that happened, they make a new invitation for the visitors to see how the painting was looking like simulation dating back from 1893 and how it can be looking like in 2093, which is a very interesting project by using VR autochrome demonstrator. The other case study that we have in Rijksmuseum, in a night watch canvas, we can see the 2 circles in the left side of the canvas was trimmed in 1715 actually, to be fit between 2 doors in Amsterdam City Hall. And the trimmed part was sent to the London National Gallery and was exhibited there. So the project in Amsterdam Museum that was about providing the AI with the 2 original parts to combine together and to be exhibited now, they asked AI to print the missing part to be aligned with the original part in Amsterdam, once again, in Rijksmuseum. And now visitors can enjoy the whole canvas. The right side is the original one, and the left side, the 60 centimeter, is the one that projected by the AI, which is so interesting. And we have now the AI in digitizing. This is Persian project that is done in Iran, and they are using AI to translate the text that transliterated from the cuneiform. And this is, of course, time-saving, energy-saving, as they can only scan the cuneiform and then get the transliteration, then translated in many languages, which is very, very brilliant. And the last point of my presentation today is about using AI in museum. If we're saying that using AI in the field of conservation is kind of limited, because like conservation is limited, somehow it's crucial, it's critical. Sometimes we take action, we decided not to take action, not to interfere. But when it comes to museums, it gave us like a wider range to interfere more. So now AI is using in the museums in the field of security and monitoring, about facial recognition, and also about predicting any suspicious behavior and any potential hazard like fire or something, so we can be like ready before the hazard is already happened. The second point is creating virtual experiences by using VR and AR, and this is giving us the opportunity to make online tours beyond the physical existence in the museums itself. The online exhibition that we can depend on AI, sorry, to select the high resolution images to be exhibited online. And this is, of course, has to be monitored by the human element, but it's also time saving. As I mentioned before, we're using AI in language translation, but also it can be used in translation of the tours, as people hold the headsets with many languages, so we can depend on AI to translate that description. And we have a case study now that it's already happening in Louvre, that they're using sensors to manage the crowd in there. As we know, Louvre is one of the crowdest museum, or it's the crowdest museum all over the world. So they are making sure that the flow of the visitors is so smooth by using this sensor that is provided by AI. And we have a successful project that made in British Museum about using AI in cataloging, which is giving them a really great results. And the last project is in Rijksmuseum. It's called Be My Eyes for low vision and blind people. And they are giving them the chance to touch the copy from the artifacts, 3D copy, while putting headsets with a very detailed description for every item in the museum. And this description is created by AI, especially for them to give them like simulation about how it can be, as they are raising the slogan of museums and art as a human right. And that's for today. Thank you. Dziękuję. And now I leave the floor for my colleague. Thanks a lot.
Dziękuję. Thank you very much, Heba. It was very inspiring and interesting for me, particular because I am a little bit afraid of AI. So thank you for showing me its good face and bright side. Now I would like to invite our third fellow, Ahmed Abdel Fattah Mohammed. Sorry. Thank you, and the floor is yours, Ahmed.
Witam. This is Ahmed Mohammed. I'm honored to be part of the discussion today on archaeological cultural heritage within the UNESCO Mandate. I'm supposed to briefly indicate some of the contemporary challenges or threats for archaeology. As mentioned in previous presentations, archaeology science is not only studying of the past, but it's also shaping the foundation of our collective identity through studying artifacts and structures, also landscapes. We uncover the ancient stories of lost nations or ancient nations through studying their beliefs and their economies, also their interactions. But this invaluable heritage is already under severe threats or challenges. I will quickly go over 5 main challenges for archaeology. First of all is urbanization, where the urban areas or modern constructions threatens the heritage sites as seen in Giza necropolis, while the modern constructions threatens the heritage sites integrity. And the attached schedule indicate how it's affected the heritage sites integrity during the last 4 years. And secondly, is already mentioned also, climate change, which accelerates the erosion of fragile sites as seen in Karnak temples, while the extreme weather and sandstorms affected the fragile site. Third is looting and illegal excavations, which looting nations' heritage like we seen in the Shur Pyramids complex. Yes, this is looting in the Shur complex. Fourth is mass tourism. And regarding mass tourism, higher number of visitors may lead to physical damage to fragile artifacts or sites, as seen in Mary Ruka tomb in Saqqara or Giza Plateau as well. And finally is conservation and funding issues, where limited resources hinder preservation efforts, as we've seen in historic relocation of Abu Simbel temples due to the Aswan High Dam. Despite all of these threats and challenges, proposed solutions are available. And of course, the international cooperation plays a key role of preserving heritage. And the Polish Committee of UNESCO has shown great efforts in this case. And Poland also has shown strong dedication for protecting heritage, not only on its own country by restoring Warsaw's old town and preserving Krakow's old sites, but also through its global initiatives. The committee also actively supports heritage conservation worldwide by offering training, technical expertise, and training courses. And that's why we are here today. Also, the committee participation in UNESCO-led missions, especially in areas affected by risks, environmental risks, or conflict risks. Moving forward, we must focus on stronger legal protection and sustainable tourism, digital documentation, and internships. Also, we have to preserve or to confirm to preserve our heritage for future generation. And that's all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. It's very good that you mentioned those dangers that we can't really do much about, like urbanization and conflicts. But also, it's important that you emphasized tourism, which we not always consider as something not sometimes very good for heritage management and heritage cultural heritage. So this is very important, and we need to think how to deal with this problem. Now I would like to start with our alumni. If I may, I would like to start with El-Monser El-Mubarak, who was here with previous edition. The floor is yours.
So good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for inviting me. And I'm really glad to be here and addressing some word about protection of archaeological heritage and about participation of my experience fellowships through the UNESCO committee in Poland and other places. I will introduce myself very fast. I'm Al-Muntasir Mubarak, Senior Conservator in the National Corporation for Antiquity and Museums in Sudan, and as well as I'm a head of Conservation Lab of Ethnography Museum of National Museums in Sudan. I was very lucky to be a part of the fellowship programs in 2018 in Warsaw and in Toronto. It was a really great opportunity for me. And I will start with the problem of protections of archaeological sites. So, and here I would like to thank former director, Mr. Munir, And maybe I will mention something. I'm very happy to see him here because I remember his support in 2011 in Ekrom. I had the opportunity to apply for the stone conservation course. And it was some problem. I was able to cover my ticket and fees, but I wasn't able to cover my accommodation in Italy, which it was very expensive. So I wrote and appeal for him, and thanks for him. He gave me a scholarship. And honestly, he changed my directions in the field of conservation and research after this course. I became one of my really skilled colleagues in our department in conservation in Sudan. So fellowship, scholarship, it really helped us to go further to protect our cultures. The second, maybe also I was very lucky to mention here something like that. Thanks for Pani Małgorzata, UNESCO committee in Warsaw, and also for Professor Rączkowski, who was my former supervisor in PhD. I didn't mention that just last year I graduated from University of Adam Mickiewicza. I got my PhD title, so I'm very glad for that. So I'm proud of being studying here. So this is my university, and thanks for the professor and all the support. I spent a very long time here, and so I'm very happy that they thought about my suggestions, because we had got some challenges during the fellowship in Warsaw. And so I discussed with Pani Małgorzata that it will be possibility to transfer this program to Poznań. Yeah. And we discussed with Professor Rączkowski, and thanks for the administration of Adam Mickiewicz that they accept to transfer this program here. And now I can see our colleagues, they are from Egypt, and also they were from Sudan. So we are proud to have it here. And I'm very happy that, so they accept this suggestion, and I'm glad to be here. And unfortunately, I have to highlight what has happened in Sudan, because I was with my team responsible for, also I can mention something for Professor Dobrokna. She was also my colleagues in 2006. So we were working together in Sudan for several times. That I was the last person who evacuated and back the mural painting of Farah's gallery in Sudan. So I hope it will be safe, because I back it by my hand, and I store it in very good place. The whole gallery, because we had we had got some support to make new evaluation for the rehabilitations for the National Museum. So we had to evacuate all the materials before the wall. And I was with my team responsible for the mural painting and for the heavy statues. So we evacuate all the stuff and we back it. So if they stole it, so it is packed. Yeah. So I'm sure that during the way it won't be a damage, because I back it in a very good way. So from here, the appeal, and we launch appeal on behalf of my institutions, yes, for helping to retain the artifacts we lost in Sudan, because really I knew, because I was working for a long time with these materials, it is more than 7,000 artifacts. So this is the biggest crime in the world for the archaeological heritage. So it is really something unique, as well as maybe people they didn't know about that. ethnography museum, National Ethnography Museum in Sudan, which it is absolutely incredible. The material, many people, they didn't know about it. They didn't see it. No one know about it because it was locked in the storage, which it is amazing and teach us about the history of Africa. It is not about Sudan, because Sudan, it is like a continent with many tribes, yeah, and ethnography cultures. So I would love to have this opportunity to announce that we need really all networks of just highlighting what is happening in Sudan. At least people, they will be aware of that. So, and finally, I would love to also stress what Professor Bruckner mentioned about the fellowship, about young scholars and participants, which it is really important, and they will change the activities and the ability of protections of the archaeological sites and materials, and because we have a lot of issues connected with education in Sudan. The reason that I came Poland here to study, because we have in conservation department until now in Sudan. So if you would like to study conservations, you need to go abroad. So we used to go to Egypt or to Europe or somewhere. So for that, I finished my first study. My background, it was in like sculpture conservations, something like that. And then I had to go and continue with conservations abroad and getting some courses. So we build our knowledge in conservation through fellowships and conservation courses. This is what it's helped us in Sudan to deal with archaeological materials. Unfortunately, and just before the war, we have got a good lab for conservation from Institute of Archaeology in Berlin. And we have got amazing equipment, but unfortunately, everything is damaged, and we have to start from the beginning. Thank you very much. Thanks for that.
Dear Elmonster, first of all, congratulations on your PhD. I know how important it is and that it opens lots of doors. So I'm keeping my finger crossed. And I would also like to thank you for assuring us that even though we do face challenges within the program, within the fellowships, we do have problems, that it's worth doing this because you are beneficiaries of this project, and we will make our best to try to resolve all these problems, or at least most of the problems, knowing that it actually makes a difference for you. Thank you very much. And I also have two more alumni who are online, joining us online. I would like to start from May Bayumi. Dear May, are you with us?
Yeah.
Yes. Nice to see you. So I'm giving you maybe not the floor, the microphone, but please, it's for you now.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'm May Bayumi. I'm a manuscript conservation specialist at Biblioteca Alexandrina. I joined this fellowship in 2018, and it was really a pleasure. I would like to thank UNESCO and the Polish Center for inviting me, and they remember me once more. It's been a long time. So I would like to special thanks for Mrs. Małgorzata and Mrs. Anna for the Polish Center for their prosperity and generosity when I was there. First of all, choosing me in this fellowship was really made me delightful and said, oh, hooray, UNESCO chose me to represent not only Biblioteca Alexandrina, but also Egypt in this opportunity. When I moved to Poland, well, we faced for sure a lot of problems and challenges, but hopefully that we solved all the problems quickly. And well, I started at the archaeology department, but it wasn't my main target. So I moved to the Academy of Fine Arts, and then I felt at home. Okay, so I felt, yeah, this is my purpose for going there. Well, as a part of the conservation department here at the Bibliotheca Alexandrina, we share experience not only here, but also abroad. So we have to gain lots of experimental experience. And this is very important because it's a share of knowledge, and we have to gain all these experiments that we gain it abroad and then share it to people here in Egypt. As heritage science is, is very recent science, so we need to gather all the experiments. Here, we study all the international code of ethics to conserve properly, and that's why it is very important to understand other people's experiments. We had lots of visits field. So this gave us a very good floor. And that's it. So when I returned back, I said all the information that we gained there to my colleagues. And I was very happy to be a part of this fellowship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, May, for nice words. Also for sharing your knowledge with your friends and colleagues back at home. That's really important. Thank you very much. Now, if I would like to invite our last speaker, last alumni, that is Mohammad Abdelrahman Ahmed Mansour. Dear Mohammad, are you with us?
Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me the chance to participate in your conference. I feel a great privilege about that. I want to introduce myself. I am Egyptologist working in the Supreme Council of Egyptian Antiquities based in Giza Plateau. And I held the position as field director for the excavations sites in Giza Plateau. I was part of the fellowship between UNESCO and Poland during 2019-2020. For my good luck, it was a pandemic in this time. So for me, it was exceptional experience. I experienced a very big problem for all the world. But to be honest, I learned a lot of it, and I make sure that all the teams in Warsaw, through the National Committee, the National Polish Committee, and in Toron, University of Nicolaus Copernicus, and UNESCO in Paris, they were supporting us all the time till we back home to our countries. So thank you all for what you did for us. I want to thank the professors in Toron University, Professor Jadwiga Lukaszewicz and Professor Gruba. They opened the lab of the Institute of History for us to learn us a lot about documentation, first aid for the objects, conservation. We learned a lot about conservation. My background in conservation wasn't too much before I attend to this fellowship. but through it I get a lot. And when I get back to Egypt, my experience it changed in the way to make documentation and preservation and conservation for the objects, especially those objects which are shown for the first time in excavation, as it's my career now. So I deal with a lot of new objects, architectural elements in situ or movable objects. So I have a lot of experience through this fellowship. And also I managed to get a scholarship in heritage conservation and sites management in Helwan University for my master degree. I got it 2 years ago. So I am thankful, grateful for UNESCO and Poland for this fellowship. I feel it's changed my career. It changed my thinking. So I ask you to continue to invite students and employees from Middle East and all Africa to get more experience and information, and also to support the work of conservation in archaeology, the same in Museum of Aswan and the Museum of Civilization in Cairo. I visit usually NIMC, or the Museum of Civilization in Cairo, and I consider it is one of the most modern museums in display in Egypt. So thank you for your support in all fields, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for kind words. And I'm very happy that you did benefit from the program, even though indeed you had pandemic, and that was very difficult time for especially for traveling abroad, and we all know how problematic everything at that time was. But even though I'm very, very glad that you are glad as well that you have been participating in this program. Thank you very much once more time. I would like to give back the floor to Professor Alicja Jagielska-Burtuk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for excellent chairing of the session. Once more, thank you all participants, dear colleagues, lecturers, for joining us today. The Archaeological Cultural Heritage in the UNESCO Mandate event. I believe we can call it a success. I'm sure that we managed to create an international platform of debate, as well as I believe it's just a start for similar initiatives together with our partners. By this I mean UNESCO, UNITWIN, colleagues from international institutions. We are extremely proud that the second panel was devoted to alumni, to fellows, as it was a unique first pilot action. And I would like to thank Duff Lynch for supporting me here in this part. And in a whole process of launching the new editions of fellowships. Thank you once more, participants. I wish you a good day. Thank you.